Hey guys, welcome to Crack Problems. The topic for today is Division of Polynomials Part 2. You will find the link for Part 1 in the description box below. Let us have a look at what is a polynomial and some of the terminologies used. Any expression is a polynomial in one variable if the index of that variable is a whole number. So any index which starts with a 0 or 1, 2 and so on is a whole number. Now in the first example, the power of x variable is 1 by 3, that's a fraction. So this is not a whole number and hence this expression is not a polynomial. Similarly, in the second example, the power of x is minus 2, which is again not a whole number and hence it is not a polynomial. Now let's look at the terminology. What is the degree of a polynomial? The greatest index of the variable. So in the example, if you see above, the greatest index is x raised to 5. So the power is 5 and hence the degree of this polynomial is 5. Now, what are the number of terms? So if you see here, the first term is 7x raised to 3. The next is 5x and so on. And the last one is minus 3. So the constant is also a term. So the number of terms are 5. What's a coefficient? Any number associated with a variable is called as the coefficient. So you should also consider the signs while giving the coefficient. So in this example, you will see the coefficients are listed below. So what's a constant? Any term without a variable is called a constant. In this example, it is minus 3. Or you can also say any term with a variable whose degree is 0, because anything raised to 0 is always 1. So in this case, the constant is minus 3. Now here are some tips to remember before we move on to the actual problems. The first one is arrange the terms in the dividend and the divisor in the descending order of the indices. Now while you arrange, and if there is any index term which is missing, assume that the coefficient of that term is 0 and complete the order. The third tip is stop the division when the index of the variable in the remainder is less than that of the divisor. The problem we have here is 15y raised to 4 plus 10y cubed minus 3y squared divided by 5y squared. So this becomes our dividend and this is our divisor. So to start with, we want the first term as 15y raised to 4. So the explanation is, you have 5y squared. With what would you multiply so that you get 15y raised to 4? So that comes to 5 3s are 15 and y squared. So the quotient is 3y squared. When you multiply, you get 15y raised to 4. Subtract, the sign changes and you get a 0 as a remainder. Get down the next term, that is 10y cubed. Again, from 5 you want 10. So you multiply with plus 2 so that you get 5 2s are 10. You need y cubed whereas you have y squared. So I'll multiply with a y so that I get y cubed plus, change the signs, remainder is 0. Get the next term down, that is 3y squared. You have 5, you need minus 3. You have to consider the signs as well. So I write here 5y squared. With what would I multiply so that I get minus 3y squared? This is a little tricky. I have 5, I need minus 3. That means I don't want a 5. So it's simple. I just divide the number by 5 so that I can get rid of 5. And I need minus 3. So I'll just multiply with minus 3. I have y squared and I already have y squared in my answer. So I don't need any variable here. So the quotient becomes minus 3 upon 5. So you have minus 3 upon 5. When I multiply, I get minus 3y squared minus the signs changed and you get the remainder as 0. Here is, I have this as a dividend divided by 3p squared as my divisor. To start with, I need 12p cubed. I have 3p squared. I multiply 3 with 4 so that I get 12. I need p cube, so I'll multiply with a p. That gives me p cube. Signs change. You get the remainder as 0. Bring down the next term, that is minus 6p square. I have 3. I need minus 2. So I multiply with a minus 2. Plus into minus is minus. 3 2s is 6. So you get minus 6. And I already have p square. So I don't need to add a variable here. And then signs change. The remainder is 0. Get down the next term, that is plus 4p. Now we've already seen in our tips that whenever the remainder, the index of the variable is less than that what we have in the divisor, that is the time when we stop. Okay, so my remainder is going to be 4p since the index of my variable is less than what I have it in my divisor. So quotient is 4p minus 2. Your remainder is 4p. The problem here we have is this is our dividend and we are dividing it with the divisor x squared. The first term is 5x raised to 4 and we have here x squared. So we need 5x raised to 4. I'll multiply with a 5. We have here x squared. I need x4. So I'll multiply with the x squared. That gives me 5x raised to 4. Signs change due to subtraction. Remainder is 0. Get down the next term, that is minus 3x cubed. I have a 1 here, I need minus 3. So I'll multiply with a minus 3. 1, 3s are 3 and I need a minus sign. We need to take care of that. And I'll multiply with the x so that I get x cubed. So that gives me minus 3x cubed. Signs change, remainder is 0. The next term is 4x squared. I have here x squared. I'll multiply with a plus 4 to get 4x squared. That gives me the remainder 0. The next term is plus 2x. I have here x squared and I have here x. The power of my variable in the remainder is less than what I have it in the divisor, and that is the time when we stop. We cannot do the division further. What is the next term? Just get that down, and here is where we have to stop. So the remainder here would be 2x minus 6 and the quotient is 5x squared minus 3x plus 4. So here in this we have minus 48p raised to 4 as the dividend and we're dividing it with minus 9p squared. This is a little tricky one. So the explanation is you have minus 9 and you need minus 48. Say 9 times table, you cannot get minus 48. So the simpler version is, let's start with, in which table I can get 9. So let's say 2 and the next prime number is 3. Now in 3, I have 9, okay? And I don't need this 9. So what I do is I divide by 3. That gives me, when I cancel, it gives me 3 ones and 3 threes are 9. With what should I multiply 3 so that I get 48? So you have here 16. Now minus into plus is minus and 16 threes is 48. So your answer is 16 upon 3. So you have plus 16 upon 3 and you already have p square. You need p raised to 4. So you multiply with p square. That gives me minus 48 p raised to 4. Signs change. Your remainder is 0. There's another way that you can have this sum done. You have minus 48. Okay, so we divide this minus 48 with minus 9. Minus 48 divided by minus 9. So you have 16 upon 3 and so you multiply with 16 upon 3. So there are two ways in which you can accomplish this sum. One is you have your divisor. With what would you multiply to get your dividend? Or the other way is you have your dividend divided by a divisor and whatever is the answer that you get, that becomes your quotient. Let us look at a few examples where we have a binomial as my divisor. So this is a dividend divided by y plus 4. So you have two terms here and that's why it's called as a binomial. Now as for the tips that we saw, you first have to arrange the dividend as well as the divisor in the descending order of the indices of the variables. So if we see here, you have the maximum index is 4. So you first write the term y raised to 4. If you notice, you don't have a term in cube. So the way we add the term is, since I don't have a coefficient, I'm going to add a 0. X, here you have the variable as y, so you put a y cube. The next term is y square, and the coefficient is minus 10. So be careful of the signs. You also have to consider the sign. So that gives me minus 10 y square. And then the last term is 24y. So just arrange the dividend terms in the descending order of the index of the variables. And if there is any term missing, you just need to add a coefficient as 0 and then the appropriate index. And this we divide by x plus 4. Again, in the divisor as well, you have to consider. So the maximum index is 1, and this is already arranged in the descending order. Now, if you start dividing, consider the first term. So you have y raised to 4, whereas in your divisor, you have y. So I'll be multiplying with y cube. Okay, and the explanation for this is, you have your y cube, you are multiplying this whole thing with y plus 4. Now we've already seen that when we have, the brackets and a term inside, you have to multiply y cube with each and every term. So this gives me y raised to 4 plus 4y cube. And that is what I'm going to write here. So you have, and you need to be careful of writing each term just below the appropriate power that you have. So this is y raised to 4. So I'll be writing y raised to 4 below this. And next I have is plus 4y cube. I have this as my term with cube. So I'm going to write plus 4y cube below this. Subtract. In subtractions, the signs change. So this becomes 0. And this is going to give me minus 4y cube. The next term that I have is minus 10y square. I get that below. I have here y, I need y cube. Just look at the first term. This is square. So I'm going to multiply with minus 4 and y square. So that gives me minus 4y cube. So if you multiply it here, I have minus 4y square multiply with y plus 4. That gives me minus 4y cube minus 16y square. The term in cube, I'm going to write it below this, and then I have minus 16y square. The signs change here. This is going to give me a 0. The sign of the greater number is 16, so that gives me plus 6y square. Get the next term below, that is plus 24y. I have here y, I need here y square and a 6. So I'm going to multiply with plus 6. Now this 6 you have to multiply with both the terms. So that gives me 6y square, which I'm going to write below the square term, and then plus into plus is plus. It gives me 6 4s are 24y. So once I have this 6y square plus, get the next term below, that is 24y. I need 6y square. So I'm going to multiply with plus 6y. And you need to multiply this 6y with this entire term. So that gives me 6y square plus 6y square plus 6 4s are 24y. When I add a subtraction, the signs change. So I get the remainder as 0, and my quotient is y cube minus 4y square plus 6y. So this is our next problem. So this is my dividend divided by x squared minus 1 is a divisor. Now, as per our first tip, I need to arrange the dividend, the terms of the dividend in the descending order of the indices. So the maximum index here is x raised to 4. So that is the first term that we will write. So this gives me 6x raised to 4. The next term is the cube. So I'll write plus 5x cube. Then it's 3x square plus 5x minus 9. this you divide with, in the descending order of the indices, my divisor is x square minus 1. Let's take the first term. You have 6x raised to 4 and in your divisor you have x square. So you're going to, now since you need x raised to 4, you're going to multiply with x square and you need a 6, and here if there is no coefficient, it means by default it is 1. So I multiply with a 6. That gives me 6x square. 6x raised to 4. You're multiplying x square with x square. The next term that I'm going to get is I have to multiply 6x square with minus 1 as well. So it's something like you have 6x square and you're multiplying this whole term, that is x square minus 1. That gives 6x raised to 4 minus 6x square. The second term is in square, x raised to 2. So I need to write it exactly below my square term. So that gives us minus 6. You need to consider the signs. That gives minus 6x square. Signs change. This gives us 0. And here you get the value as sign of the greater sign is again plus. So you get 9x square. Get the next term, that is in cube. So you have 5x cube. And here the sign is plus. Now again, to start with, you should always consider the term with the maximum index. So you have 5x cube. You're going to multiply with plus 5x. So that you get 5x cube. And you need to multiply with this as well. So you get minus 5x. Now the term in x is here. So instead of writing it below this, you need to exactly write below the term in x. So you can get this term down, that is plus 5x, and then you have your answer as plus into minus is minus 5x. So if you change the signs, you have your minus and this will become plus. This remainder is 0 and here you get as 10x. This term is remaining, so just get that down, plus x square plus 10x. The next term with the maximum index we have is 9x square. So I need to multiply with plus 9. So that we get 9x square. The next term would be minus. Plus into minus is minus 9. Now this is a term in x, so I cannot write it below this. I have to write it below this. So let me get this term down. So this becomes minus 9 and you have here as minus 9. Change the signs. So this gives the remainder as 0, the remainder here is 0 and you get this term down, that is 10x. You have your x, that's a maximum index, that is 1, and here in the divisor we have as x square. Now this is the time when we stop, when the index of the remainder is less than the index of the divisor. So the remainder is 10x and the quotient is 6x square plus 5x plus 9. The next problem here we have the dividend divided by 2 plus x square is the divisor. Now the first step is arrange the terms of the dividend in the descending order of the index of the variables. Now here if you consider the maximum index is 4, so that becomes the first term, that is x raised to 4. And you also have to consider the signs along with the terms. So you have x raised to 4. The next term is plus x cube. Then we have minus 3x square plus 3x. And the last one is minus 12. Do consider the signs. Without the signs, it becomes invalid. And then you divide this by your divisor, that is 2 plus x square. We also have to arrange the terms of the divisor in the descending order of the index. So that gives us x square plus 2. To start with the division, the first term is x raised to 4 and here the first term in the divisor is x square. So I have x squared and I need x raised to 4. So I'm going to multiply with again x squared. And this x squared, I would be multiplying with this entire term. So you have x squared plus 2. That gives us x raised to 4 plus 2x squared. Now again, each term you have to write it below the same index. So you have x raised to 4. So you're going to write it x raised to 4 below this term. The next is 2x squared. You have the term in 2x squared here. So you need to write it exactly below it. This gives me minus 5. Minus into plus is minus into minus is plus, and the sign of greater number, that is minus. So you have minus 5x squared. The term in x cube is remaining, so get that down. Now the term with the highest degree is x cube. So you're going to multiply with plus x. So that x squared into x is going to give us x cube. The next term would be plus into plus is plus 2x. Now the term in x is 3x. So you need to write it exactly below that. So you get here plus 2x. Change the signs. You get this as the remainder 0. This term is remaining, so get it down. So you have minus x squared. You can get this below, that is 3x. So plus into minus is minus. You have to subtract the sign of the greater number, that is 3. So you have plus 1x, that is x. Now the term in the highest with the highest index is square, and here you have x squared. You need minus 5x squared. So I'm going to multiply with minus 5 because the sign here is minus. So you get minus 5x squared. Plus into minus is minus 10. Now the term with constant is the last term. So I get it below, that is minus 12. And 5 2s is 10. So minus 10, I write it here. Change the signs. So you get x, here there's a plus sign, x minus 2. This becomes 0. Now you have here x, that's the term with the highest degree, and you have in your divisor x squared. Since the index of my remainder is less than the index of the divisor, we need to stop here. So your remainder is x minus 2 and your quotient is x squared plus x minus 5. In the next problem, this is the dividend divided by a cube minus 2 is the divisor. Let us first arrange the terms of the dividend in the descending order of the index. So the first term is a raised to 4. The next is cube. So we write it as is minus a raised a cube. Then you have square. So you have plus a square. The next term is minus a plus 1. Now since in the dividend all these terms are already arranged in the descending order index, we are good. The same thing you need for the divisor. Arrange it in the descending order of the index. So you have a cube minus 2. Let us start with the first term, that is a raised to 4. You already have a cube. So you need to multiply with a. Okay. So a cube into a is going to give us a raised to 4. You also need to multiply the second term. So you get minus 2a. Be careful. This is a term in 2a. And the term in 2a is here. So you need to write it exactly below it. You cannot write it below a cube. The term in a cube needs to be written below this. The term in only a raised to 1 needs to be written exactly below the same term. Change the signs. You have minus and here it becomes plus. So this is going to give me the remainder as 0. And this gives me the sign of the greater number is plus. So you have plus 1a. Get the term with the next index, that is a cube below. And you have plus a square. Now to start again, the highest term is with the highest degree is minus a cube. And you already have here a cube. What you need is minus a cube. So I'm going to multiply with minus 1. so that I get minus a cube. The next term is minus 2. That's the constant. Here we have the constant. I get it below. So the answer is going to be minus into minus is plus, plus 2. Change the signs. You get the remainder as 0. Get these terms below. So you have a square plus a. The sign of greater number is minus. So you have minus 1. Now the term with the highest degree is a square. Whereas in your divisor, you have a cube. Whenever the index of the remainder is less than what you have in the divisor, that is where you stop. So the remainder is a square plus a minus 1 and the quotient is a minus 1. Let us arrange the terms in this example in the descending order of the power of the variable x. So the highest power is 4. So we write the first term as 4x4. The next is minus 5x cubed. We do not have a term in x square. So we put the coefficient as 0 and add a term with x square. You have minus 7x plus 1. And then you have your divisor as 4x minus 1. The first term is 4x squared. 4x raised to 4 and you have 4x, so I would be multiplying with x cube, so that I get 4x raised to 4, and my second term is going to be x cube minus 1. That means it is going to be minus x cube, so that I need to write below my x cube term. Okay, so that comes to minus x cube. Change the signs. This gives me 0 and this gives me, the sign of the greater number is minus, so I have 4x cubed. Get the next term down, that is zero x squared. Now I need minus 4x cubed and I have 4x. So I would be multiplying with minus and I would have an x square here, so that I get minus 4x cubed, and then you have minus into minus is plus x square, so I will write it below the term in x square. This gives me 0 and this gives me minus x square. The next term is minus 7x. I need x squared, whereas I have here 4. Okay, so I don't need the 4. So it's like I have 4x. With what should I multiply so that I get minus x squared? I don't need a 4, so I divide by 4. Okay, and then I have a 1 here, 1x, and I need a minus sign, so I'll put a minus sign here. So this gives me x into x is x squared minus, and 4 gets cancelled. So my quotient is minus x upon 4. So I get here minus x squared. And then I have to multiply this with this, so that I get minus to minus is plus, plus x upon 4. So this gives me 0. Now I have here minus 7x minus x upon 4. I make the denominators as equal, so that gives me minus 28x minus x upon 4. So that comes to minus 29x upon 4. So I get here minus 29x upon 4. The next is plus 1. Now I have minus 29x upon 4, whereas I have here 4x. So from 4, so I have 4x. With what should I multiply so that I get minus 29x upon 4? I need a 4 in my denominator, whereas I have a 4 in my numerator. Okay, so what I do is I divide by 16, so that 4 gets cancelled and I get 4 4s are 16. And in the numerator, I want minus 29. I already have an x here. So this becomes my quotient, that is minus 29 upon 16. Now this entire thing, minus 29 upon 16, I need to multiply with 4x minus 1. So we have 29 upon 16 multiplied by 4x minus 1. That gives me minus 29 upon 4x plus 29 upon 16. So the term in x I'll write below this. So I get 29x upon 4. And then we have plus 29 upon 16. Change the signs. This gives me a 0 plus 1 minus 29 upon 16. So making the denominators equal, I have 16 minus 29 upon 16, which gives me minus 13 upon 16. So that becomes my remainder. So minus 39 upon 16 is my remainder, and this becomes my quotient. Thanks guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Do like and subscribe. And don't forget to give your comments below. Ciao.